first epidemic ever knocked to the door of Roman Empire in 165. We don't know much about this epidemic because there are very few historical sources that survived until today. Disease came to Italy with Roman army. It is estimated that the number of deaths could reach 5 million. To help you imagine the scale of this tragedy, ancient Rome at that time was inhabited by less than 56 million people. Scientists speculate that it was the smallpox or measles, but the real cause of the first known epidemic will probably remain unknown. Plague of Justinian. Next plague came to Europe after almost 400 years. It was 5 times more devastating than the first one and killed almost half of the entire population of the old continent. People were absolutely terrified. This plague caused a huge chaos in the whole empire. Constantinople was one of the biggest cities at that time. 40% of the population died because of the plague. Death took a huge toll of almost 25 million human beings. The Black Death, probably the most recognizable and present in movies pandemic, took place in 14th century. Black Death originated in Asia and spread to Africa and Europe. It was the most devastating pandemic recorded in human history. It traveled along the Silk Road. This pandemic spread via the fleas living on rats. These animals used to live on merchant ships that frequently traveled from Asia to Europe. Symptoms of disease include fever, headaches, painful itching joints, nausea and vomiting, and a general feeling of malaise. Death toll was so huge that scientists think it could lead to the Little Ice Age. Black Death killed up to 75 to 200 million people. Third cholera pandemic, 1852-1860. The third cholera pandemic is considered to be the most deadly of the 7 cholera pandemics that hit people. Just like other cholera pandemics, it originated in India. The main origin was Ganges River because of its tremendous impurity. Water was identified as the main mean of transmission. Cholera had a huge impact on people's life, awareness, economy, and even politics. Imagine people fearing for their lives for 8 years, because that's how long did the pandemic last. Asia, Europe, North America, Africa, cholera pandemic touched people all around the world and was the first pandemic with such a big death toll in modern times. Flu pandemic 1889-1890. This pandemic originally was called Russian flu. People didn't really know what kind of virus was that. Only the latest research showed that it was probably an outbreak of the influenza A virus subtype H3N8. At the same time, in 1889, several cases showed up in separated distant locations in North America, Asia, and even Greenland. As a result of dynamically growing population, Russian flu spread very fast and killed over 1 million people in just 1 year. Even though we learned a lot from this experience, what people didn't know then is that the flu will come back soon and many other times. Nobody knows in what form will it show up the next time, but unfortunately we can be sure that it will. Flu pandemic 1918. This pandemic started in 1918 and lasts for 2 years. It is usually called Spanish flu. This disease is the most deadly pandemic ever. It infected 1/3 of the entire world population. At the beginning of pandemic, in 1918, over 500 million people were already infected. Lethality rate reached 20%. During the first 25 weeks, death rate reached 25 million. It means 1 million individuals every week. There is also a mystery behind that pandemic. Usually, flu kills elderly or people with weak immune system. This time was different. Spanish flu taken a huge death toll among young, healthy individuals. Asian flu 1956-1958. According to the World Health Organization, originated in China, Asian flu took a death toll of 2 million people. It was an outbreak of influenza A H2N2. Asian flu spread to United States very fast and killed nearly 70,000 human beings only in United States. Its characteristic is a fast spread. As you already know, flu is a disease that will always come back, but probably in different form. Unfortunately, history gives us examples to prove it's true. Flu pandemic 1968, also called the Hong Kong flu, is the last flu pandemic until today. Its name comes from the place of the first reported case. The epidemic was caused by the H3N2 strain of the influenza A virus, a genetic offshoot of the H2N2 subtype. As most of pandemics, it originated in Asia. Death rate of 5% was relatively low. However, something else is interesting. Hong Kong flu took away 1 million people, of which 500,000 from Hong Kong itself. It was about 15% of the city population at that time. Let's hope it will never come back again. HIV pandemic. It was first identified in 1976 in Democratic Republic of Congo. HIV means human immunodeficiency virus. Death toll since 1981 reaches 36 million individuals. Right now, there are 31 to 45 million people infected. Most of them live in North and Central Africa. This is probably one of the most dangerous epidemic ever because it is around since 1976 and we still don't have an effective cure. Many scientists are focused on better understanding of the problem and trying to find a cure that will stop this pandemic. Unfortunately, this disease still remains incurable. COVID-19, coronavirus. Let's start with some facts. Coronavirus started in Wuhan province in China in December of 2019. COVID-19 was declared a pandemic by World Health Organization in March of 2020. Its characteristic is that it spreads exceptionally fast. We are still in process of making research on the virus. What we already know is that it could live up to several days on the surface. Currently, there are over 1,400,000 people infected and more than 80,000 people died because of coronavirus. The future depends on us. Wash your hands carefully and take precautionary measures. Stay home if you can. Stay home, save lives.